Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that brings on us to topic number two, having to deal with the second show on Disney Plus and Marvel Studios, and that is more of the Falcon into Winter Soldier. And some people was telling the writer and producer that this stuff probably won't sell, and that's just kind of crazy, you know. And I got the article right here
What?
from TV Line saying the Falcon and the Winter Soldiers, Malcolm Spellman is ready to deliver an undeniably black superhero story. And this is what the brother looks like. This is coming from TV Line. And it says, Malcolm Spellman is a name you'll see over and over in 2021. The multi-talented producer and writer is marking his Hollywood territory with a deluge of high-profile projects throughout this year. They include Hip Hop Uncovered, a 6-part docu-series that explores the untold story of how American streets influence hip-hop culture. Season 2 of the Apple TV show's crime drama Truth Be Told, but also Disney Plus's anticipated Captain America spinoff series, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, starring Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, and set to premiere Friday, March 19th. Now, the reason why this is a big deal to me is if you go through and you read the article, it just goes to say how this is going to be like super black and going to be dealing with a lot of racial issues. And I have a first quote right here. It says, Spellman's packed calendar is stark contrast for the first decade and a half of his career, in which the Bay native struggled to find work amid rampant racial bias throughout the entertainment industry. For the first 15 years of my career, I couldn't mount consistent work, Spellman tells TV Line. Executives would say out loud, you can't have a black lead in this project because it won't sell overseas. Now, Lamont, I'm going to come to you first. You know, that's been said about black people in shows and movies, etc., for the longest. And we're seeing what Black Panther did. You know, how do you feel about these comments and this brother taking over the Falcon and the Winter Soldier coming this March? And
we can use Black Panther as a template. It did gangbusters in America, and China didn't love it as much as they love some of the other things. However, Black Panther overall still is in Marvel's top 4 highest grossing movies. So whether or not it's going to sell overseas, I don't give a damn about that. You're trying to get the overall margin, the bottom line at the end of the day. And the bottom line for this is going to be good. And I say that because people were more anticipating Falcon and Winter Soldier than they were WandaVision. And right now, WandaVision is the most watched TV series on any platform. And if you still have that anticipation from Winter Soldier, and now you've got these people that are going to be beating the door down because of how good WandaVision was, everybody that was watching that is going to cross over and watch this. And I will bet you guys that we get more viewers for this show than what we got for WandaVision, just because of what these characters are going to be doing on screen. Some of the cameos they're going to be bringing in, which is heavy black people, War Machine's in it. They're bringing in Old Boy. I don't care what they say about that. When you have a conglomerate that is the size of Disney, when you have a conglomerate that missed a whole year for a pandemic, and the entire world is waiting to watch everything you put out, it is not going to be a problem selling this show. Keep on going forward. Keep on doing what you do and watch the numbers. And I think 50 Cent said it best. Let them haters hate and you watch the money pile up.
Right on. And before I pass it to you, Larry, it says the Falcon and the Winter Soldier is due to launch in March, meaning that Spellman will soon embark on his largest scale outing yet. The adventure series follows the mismatched duo of Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes as they navigate a post-Endgame world without Steve Rogers, Captain America. With Sam, who is black, contemplating taking up Cap's mantle, the series will delve into real issues surrounding identity, and race will be a key part of that story. At the bottom, it says, when you start to see the direct impact that a black superhero had on my nephew, that's branded on my brain, Spellman notes. I believe that Falcon and the Winter Soldier is a nice progression with the mantle that Black Panther director Ryan Coogler and Chadwick Boseman left us. I really do believe that these giant black icons are necessary, not only for black kids, but for white kids to start to absorb our people as being big and heroic. Larry, what you got, man? What you think about all this so far?
Yeah, man, I think that's been spread about for a long time, this idea that people overseas won't watch black leads. And I think that's just a farce. I think that it wasn't. I think for a long time, the movies that were put out were movies that were specific to the Black American audience, and so they may not play well overseas because they weren't really movies that were sort of reaching to a broad audience. They weren't open to a broad. They were designed for us. They were kind of like FUBU movies. They were for us, by us,
right.
And so they weren't going to have that broad of a reach. But I think when you start to put Black leads into just mainstream movies, people are going to watch regardless of their race, whether they're Black or white or Asian or Hispanic, whatever. They're going to watch. I think they'll watch this. Partly, I think they're going to watch this a lot. This one's probably going to get better numbers than WandaVision right out the gate, because I think in this show they're going to be doing more of the traditional Marvel stuff. Like Lamont said, we're going to see them doing things on screen that people expect from Marvel. Whereas with WandaVision, it was sort of that silly, goofy sitcom for like the first couple episodes. Well, it's still like that, but it was very much not what people expected from Marvel in the first few episodes, and that threw a few people off, and the numbers were a little soft to begin with. But this one I think is going to come out right away.
Yeah, I agree.
And let's not forget that when they always talk about people won't watch Black lead stuff, and I know that we're not talking about bootleg stuff, but Empire was like the #1 bootleg downloaded BitTorrent series in the world for like the first 2 seasons or something like that. So, and that's another one of his projects. So people were more than happy to watch Black films and Black movie series because they were surely bootlegging it and watching it. So
he did do Empire.
You just have to offer it to them. You just have to offer them good content. People don't care. Well, people do care about race, but they care first and foremost about great content.
Yep,
that is true. And the guys, again, everything that we're talking about, there's a link to the article down in the description box. But if you read it yourself, he goes on the show when he tried to pitch his idea to Marvel. He had a bad interview, a bad take. He said he had a migraine.
He had a migraine.
Yeah, he had a migraine, and the only reason it worked is because producer Nate Moore, who was the vice president, I believe, or helped out on the Black Panther, is a Black guy or a mixed race guy or whatever. He knew what he wanted to do and helped him out. He said he heard what I wanted to do, that I wanted race to be a part of the story very prominently, and I think he knew it was right. Spelman says the Black Panther producer. So he's talking about Nate Moore right there. And I have another one right here. Our specific goal is now to start directly reaching out to young creative people that are not on the pathway to Hollywood, such as not attending college. Me and Nichelle, that's his wife, never ever imagined that we would get a chance to work in Hollywood. And so we really want to directly reach back and start to work with filmmakers who are in that same bubble where there's a ton of untapped genius that never gets access, Spelman explained. And so I mean, I like that he's trying to, kick down boundaries and, kick open doors and all that good stuff, for people that are just like him. He said, I think one of the most important things is that the faith I have that there are no limitations to the size of specifically Black stories. They can be as big as anyone else's, he shares. We learned that with Empire. We learned it with Black Panther, and we're going to see that with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. There's just zero argument against that anymore. And I agree. I agree with them wholeheartedly, And
you know what's important about that, B. Avery, is that for a long, and it still is, I can say for a long time, it still is, where the writing rooms in Hollywood are basically just, it's just like a homecoming for Ivy League writers.
Hell
You have all these people from Harvard and Princeton and Yale that are writers that go to Hollywood and they become screenwriters or they write on different series. And that's not something that you don't need that education to become a great writer. I mean, it helps with the connections, but you don't need it. And if you have the opportunity, I mean, what happens is often, I think with Black people is they have to create their own projects so that they can actually get in the room.
Exactly.
And
right.
And now if they're saying, look, we're going to go out there because we've seen it. We're from these communities. We know the amount of untapped talent that's out there. I think it's so very important that they're able to get that and bring people in It's just like in the music industry, how for a long time, the only way to get in the music industry was if you went to college, made some connections, got in on the business side. Well, after a while, people were like, no, I don't have that. I'm never going to get that. So what I'm going to do is I know this young kid around the corner that can rap his butt off or can sing. I'm going to go ahead and finance him. And I'm going to do that. And I'm gonna bypass all the other crap. I'm gonna create the record company, and now we're gonna start to see that in the movie and TV industry.
Right on.
One of the biggest movie franchises in the world in history was not only written by someone who didn't have a high school education, but he also starred in it. You know what I'm talking about? Rocky Balboa, Sylvester Stallone.
Right.
He was working in a meat factory, chopping up slices of meat, had this story, skipped work one night because he had written this story for the great Rocky Balboa, wrote the story, got to act in, and then catapulted him into doing other productions. And to this day, Rocky's series is one of the highest grossing movie series in history. And that man ain't have a lick of high school diploma anywhere.
Right on.
And when you look at it, you have a lot of actors that come up as young actors. They come up either, because they're child actors, or maybe they get a role when they're in their 20s or something, and they start acting. And then a few years later, they start saying, oh, well, I want to write. You start to see some of these actors, like maybe watch a TV series and you'll see, oh, this was written by so-and-so. And you're like, wait a minute, when did this person start writing? Or you'll see it was directed by some former actor or current actor. And you'll see that these are people who are not traditionally trained. They didn't go to college to become a screenwriter. They didn't go and get a degree in literature or film production or whatever else. They just did OTJ, or OT, what do they call it? OJT, on the job training.
On the job training.
And so I think if people have I couldn't get it out, but I'm saying if people just are given the opportunities, they can learn the work, they can learn the craft. I mean, it's not like being a doctor where you need to go and get specialized training. You need someone to teach you how to do it, and then you need to have good ideas and a strong work ethic.
Right on. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, guys. And for that article, it's there down in the description if you guys want to go check that out.
And can I just say, Malcolm Spellman looks like the happiest dude on the planet, man. When you see that photo of him, I can't see it because you have to scroll. That dude just looks like he has a good time.
He does. He does.